Hey everybody, this is Zachary Levi, and you're listening to Chuck versus the Podcast.
Hi, my name is Graham Jones, but you can call me Gray. This is my show. It's about Chuck. It's filled with interviews, the latest news, crazy co-hosts, and spoilers that'll make your day. Oh, wait, I need to go back. I host these TV nights. They used to be pretty boring, but everything changed when I found NBC's new show, Chuck. Pretty soon, my TV night got pretty crowded. Guys I didn't even know were showing up the door. Big, important guys. Really scary, nasty, get killed for hosting them guys. Next thing I know, these super episodes are downloaded into my brain, which means every moment of my life, I'm thinking about Chuck. ChuckTV.net sent their top people to protect me. That's Mel and Liz. They're pretty zany. They co-host with me now, as a cover. So now I must welcome you to Chuck versus the Podcast, the #1 TV podcast for NBC's Chuck.
This is Mel.
This is Liz.
And welcome to Chuck versus the Podcast number 37 for Friday, January 22nd, 2010. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you all. You may have noticed that you didn't hear Gray chime in. Our illustrious co-host is busier than ever, so he entrusted us to bring you the podcast today.
And we've got lots of news for you. Plus, we have an exclusive interview with Zachary Levi from Kaylee. She's a Chuck fan from Toronto. So let's get to it.
Yeah. Let's cover the ratings first. Although it's only been back for 2 weeks, Chuck has already aired 4 episodes. The two-night, 3-episode event arrived with a bang. On Sunday, episode 301, Chuck versus the Pink Slip, it drew 7.7 million viewers and a healthy 3.0 preliminary rating among adults 18 to 49 in the all-important advertiser demographic, while episode 302, Chuck versus the Three Words, grabbed 7.2 million viewers and a 2.9 rating. On Monday, episode 303, Chuck versus the Angel de la Muerta, I know I butchered that, garnered approximately 7.3 million viewers and a 2.6 in the 18 to 49 demo. This week, episode 304, Chuck versus Operation Awesome, held steady with approximately 6.6 million viewers and a 2.5 in the 18 to 49 demographic. So I'm thinking it's looking pretty good for Chuck right now.
It really is. And, I was, of course, interested to see what the premiere numbers were going to be, but I was really on the edge of my seat to see what this week's numbers were going to be because it didn't have the promotional firepower that the premiere had. It was coming at us from every direction that, hey, Chuck's back. Did you know? So the real test of an episode comes with the second episode, or in this case, the fourth. The second week after the premiere is when you really start to get a feel for how many, what the viewership's going to look like. And I was actually, just as we were starting to record this podcast, had a comment come through from the site where someone was, again, freaking out because we lost 600,000 viewers from week to week. And apparently the show was doomed. And I just wanted to point out that is a very normal fluctuation. In fact, it's better than average from premiere week to second week. Every show loses viewers from week 1 to week 2. So I guarantee you that if you look back historically at ratings, the ratings from a premiere episode or a premiere week in our case to the second week, there's always going to be a drop. It's nothing to worry about. What's really important is that 18 to 49 demo number, which went from, it averaged about 3.0. Well, let's see, we had 3.0, 2.9, and 2.6. So it averaged about 2.8 last week, and it's 2.5 this week. Which, again, that's a drop, but it's really, from Monday to Monday, it's only a 0.1 drop, a 2.6 to 2.5, which is pretty good. That means advertisers are probably going to be pretty happy. And it's also important to point out that Chuck's situation is a little unique in that it doesn't really need to compete with other shows on other networks. It needs to compete with shows on NBC. It's just the state of NBC at the moment is that, Chuck only really has to beat, for example, Heroes in the 8 p.m. time slot. That's where Heroes is airing in the fall, and it averaged a 2.0 in the demo and under 6 million viewers. So, and if you've been watching the numbers for Heroes when it started back up in January, they were really, really bad. Like we're talking, I believe this week's demo was a 1.8, which is, and it had less than 4 million viewers. So that's terrible for Heroes, yes. But for Chuck fans, it's actually pretty good because it's making Chuck look better. I also want to point out that right now, Chuck is the third highest rated show on NBC behind The Office and The Biggest Loser. And that makes it the second highest scripted show on NBC behind The Office. So, try to stay calm, try not to stress, look at it in that way because that's how NBC is looking at it. And, I have it on good authority that they are quite pleased with performance. And, so try not to freak out. In the words of the illustrious Sarah,
don't freak out. There's no need.
Well, speaking of the season 3 episodes and inquiries, we've had a lot of questions about when the new episodes are going to show up on iTunes or on the Amazon On Demand, and unfortunately, we just don't know. We've emailed NBC and Warner Brothers, but as of press time, nothing. We haven't heard anything back. As soon as we know something, we will post it at chucktv.net and chuckpodcast.com. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, patience is a virtue. That's all I got for you. Sorry. I'm eagerly awaiting too, because I can't do the screen caps until I can download a nice clean HD copy. So
yeah, that would help. Congratulations to Yvonne Strahovski, who won the E! Online's inaugural Girl on Top competition. She beat out 127 other actresses for the #1 spot. Go, Yvonne.
Way to go, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was even a little interview with E! at the TCA press tour with Yvonne and Adam, where they were basically telling you to vote for Yvonne, and Adam fake voted for her on his phone right then. It was pretty funny. So.
Why?
It's nice to know Adam's got her back,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yvonne said in that interview that the day before she had gone in and voted for herself, so she looked kind of adorably embarrassed about it. It was very good.
Oh, well, it's good news. I'm glad. I'm glad she won.
Exactly, and it brings a little more attention to Chuck, which is even better news. So
that's right.
Congratulations are also in order to Gray, who was featured in the Toronto Star on January 10th. Gray and Chuck versus the Podcast made a big splash in conjunction with the premiere of Chuck. They even interviewed Chris Fedak about us, which was amazing. He had nothing but good things to say about Gray and about the podcast. So thanks, Fedak. We appreciate that. You can see the online version on chucktv.net and chuckpodcast.com. Or if you happen to be in the Toronto area, there apparently was an even larger spread in the print version, which hardly ever happens. It's usually bigger online, but there was a larger spread in the print version along with some photos. So if you happen to live in the Toronto area, and I know we have a lot of Canadian listeners, see if you can't grab a copy. You might check with Gray. I imagine he probably has a big old stack of them because we're pretty excited about that one. So
yeah. So. Although I didn't get mine in the mail, so
I know, slacker. Like he's got to work or something.
I know, right? Sheesh. Or he's got, a family to take care of and stuff. I don't know. I don't get it.
Priorities.
I don't get it.
Speaking of those Canadians, we got a little programming note. Chuck is airing on Sundays, at least until the Olympics, on City TV. So you guys get to see it a day before the rest of us, you lucky ducks. Yeah. Of course, we caution you about releasing spoilers. So far, they've been really great about that on the chucktv.net forum. Basically just giving an, oh my gosh, this episode was awesome! And then waiting until everyone else has seen it to actually discuss it in any kind of detail. So thanks for that. But yes, City TV, Sunday nights in Canada. You guys can watch Chuck before the rest of us.
Awesome. Speaking of what's going on out there, we want to get to our interview with Zach. So for more news and interviews, plus Lou's review of each episode, visit chucktv.net. And thanks, Lou, by the way.
Yes, thank you for taking that on.
Yeah. Now we have an interview with Zach, conducted by Kaylee, a Chuck fan from Toronto who was in New York City, was lucky enough to be in New York City when Zach was there to promote the show.
So I'm Kaylee from Toronto, and I'm a guest interviewer for Chuck versus the Podcast. Welcome, Zachary Levi.
Thank you.
How's New York been?
New York has been amazing. I've been really blessed. I've been able to come to New York on someone else's dime for quite a few years now. On work, and New York is it's such a magical city, even when it's freezing out, and the reception's always been good, and it's just amazing to be here. I love to live here for a few years at some point in life, but the press has been really good this week, and that's one of the things that's great about the show, is that we've always had a lot of love from the media since day one, and a lot of support, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing, and Letterman went really well, I felt, and the Today Show was great this morning, and so it's been a great trip so far.
That's awesome. And Chuck Fest is coming up this weekend. How do you feel about that?
Great. I feel great. I mean, I've not heard of, and I'm not that I know every little in and out of every show that's been on the air ever, but I've not heard of any other premiere party like this. I've never heard of fans coming together from all parts of the country and even the world in some respects. I think some people are traveling internationally to come to Chuck Fest, this big fan premiere party, and the whole cast is going to go swing down. So, unfortunately, we have our premiere party and this network press event all on the same night, so we don't have a tremendous amount of time to be able to spend with everybody, but we certainly want to at least take a little bit of time to just give everybody love and just thank everybody for all the support. We all have jobs now still because of our fans, and the best in the world. I love you guys.
That's awesome. So you're doing voice work for Rapunzel. How is that different from being on the set of Chuck?
Well, very different. I mean, for Rapunzel, I can walk in my pajamas if I wanted to, and just doing voice work in general is you really use your imagination in a way that on Chuck we have all these great props and sets and costumes and other actors and everything. You're doing scenes, but when you're doing voice work, you're creating a lot of that in your own mind and kind of imagining what the space is like. And but I've been a fan of Disney animation my whole life, and at some point I could probably recite almost all of the music and dialogue to Aladdin when I was younger, singing all those songs. So to now be a part of that lineage and be a prince in the Disney archives is like, it's mind-blowing and such an honor. But being able to be Chuck has been the greatest career blessing of my life so far. It's opened all these doors. I wouldn't be able to be in Rapunzel if it wasn't for Chuck. I wouldn't have been in the Squeakquel if it wasn't for Chuck, and whatever else God might have in store. A lot of that will all be based on the doors that were opened through this job, and I love our cast and our crew so much, and it's that's probably one of the biggest treats about coming back for a third season, is just not having to say goodbye to everybody and continue to keep having fun with them.
That's awesome. Okay, so you directed an episode this season for season 3. What was that like?
Amazing. I've wanted to direct for a long time, specifically on Chuck. It's a show that I feel like I know very well and love very dearly, and we've had some really great directors come through, and I've been able to watch them do their thing and kind of learn, make decisions about what I would want to or not want to do, and the style of how I feel like things should go, and and the crew was so supportive. Everyone from even before I got the job, last season people were asking me, hey, are you going to direct one? Are you going to do one? And I was like, I hope so. I'd love to at some point. And then when I was able to tell everybody that I was doing one, everyone was very excited for me and happy for me, and everyone gave 110%. They always give 110%, but they really took care of me and made sure that I didn't screw everything up. So, and I've seen my episode, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy with it. I hope that it goes down as being one of the best.
Awesome. So, back to season 3, what do you think will appeal to the new viewers that all the fans got during all the campaigns?
Well, I feel like one of the real selling points of Chuck is he's an everyman and a fellow nerd, and you get to and have been able to for the last 2 seasons live vicariously through him in these missions in this world of espionage, and how weird and funny and awkward and all that could be and is. And now I feel like we're giving the audience an opportunity to live vicariously through some butt kicking. What if not only you had this intersect, but you had like this matrix to kind of tap into, and so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being able to be in the fight scenes and use tranq guns and and all the same stuff too, with explosions and fun stunts and dangling off buildings, and all of that is an adventure to be had every week, and hopefully an adventure that everyone wants to be a part of with us and continue to be a part of. So all of that is tremendous.
So Josh Schwartz just joined Twitter 2 days ago.
Yeah.
How do you think that Twitter and Facebook have helped you connect to the fans?
Oh, they are. I'm trying to think of the word, but they're priceless. They're to be able to immediately communicate with fans. Snail mail just doesn't cut it, and now you can. I can 140 characters, and I can say thank you so much, and tune into this, and I've only got, I think Adam Baldwin's got like 50,000 followers or something, ridiculous, and I'm so fast. I was on Twitter for like a couple months before he was, and I'm only now am I up to like 16,000 or something, and he's got 50. But he deserves it. He's been in the business for so long, and he's such an amazing guy. Oh my God, Adam Baldwin he's my rock. He's so good. But it gives you a personal connection to your fans and especially on a show like Chuck that are so crucial for us even still being around. It's a really beautiful thing, and I feel like it's kind of the future of what entertainment's going to be. And some people are kind of scared about that because there's always been this divide, a protective barrier, and you never know. There's some fans out there that are a little, who knows what they'll do, but I have faith that if you can continue to keep a dialogue with your fans and appreciate them, and that they will respect boundaries. I'm not too worried about that, and I like being able to, specifically Twitter. I'm not very good at Facebook. And even at Twitter, a lot of people keep giving me crap. They're like, tweet more. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm having a Starbucks now. Like, that's boring to me, And unfortunately, even with big things, I don't necessarily do it, but it's a really cool thing. And I think especially for Josh, I think people having a direct line to someone who created it, not just the people in it, but who created it, I think is a really special thing.
So, hey, thank you so much, Zach, for talking to us today. Enjoy Czech Fest this weekend, and good luck with the season 3.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Kaylee.
You too.
Zach, he's such a nice guy.
It's just always a pleasure and a lot of fun to listen to an interview with him, and I love it when he gets serious.
He's like the best ambassador ever for a show,
Yeah.
He just loves it. So
yeah, truly. So thanks again, Kaylee.
Yes, thank you, Kaylee, for doing that. I'm sure it was just really hard on you.
Yeah.
But our correspondent in the field, Kaylee. Well, let's talk a little bit about the episodes that we've seen so far. We've seen 4 episodes. We're not going to do a really in detail recap because you can go to a lot of sites to see that, including ours. The fabulous Lou has been doing some nice recaps and reviews. But just kind of in general, wanted to talk about, what really caught your eye, Liz, about these episodes?
What I'm really liking is the evolution of Casey. I don't know. I'm excited to see the rest of the season, how the rest of the season pans out for him, because it certainly looks like he's going to morph into I don't know, something great, something wonderful, greater than what we've seen already. So far he's been the hard nails, Marine trained, agent, and by the book, always by the book. And it just seems to me like this season they might be taking him in a whole new direction and maybe I don't know. He's just, I like it, the change that he's going. He seems to be having more heart and more, I don't know, Team Bartowski.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's playing more for the team than for himself now.
Exactly.
I wonder if that's partially because the kill order has been lifted.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's that, or I don't know, the change in command. Would that have anything to do with it?
But I think we started seeing that earlier than when Shaw showed up, because, and now that we're actually talking about it, I think it is because the kill order was lifted, and so he doesn't feel the reluctance. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's always reluctant to get close to anyone, but, I think before he was really holding himself back from Chuck because, he didn't want to have any sort of an emotional connection with someone that he might have to kill.
Yeah, that's true. So that would make sense.
But why go with logic on this show? I mean, really.
I don't know. I'm just liking it because I like the character so much. I like the character, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail, but I like Casey so much better than the Bymore characters, and I don't hate the Bymore characters.
Yeah.
I don't. They're a lot of fun, but sometimes their stories get a little annoying.
I always feel at the end of an episode, I think the regret that I have at the end of an episode is A, that it's over, but B, that we didn't get enough Casey. It always feels like I wanted more, and that may be the genius of the show, is that they always leave you wanting more of something. And for me, it's always, I wish I had more Casey, because Adam Baldwin is so good as that character.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had the opportunity to, talk to him in person and interview him a couple of times now and sort of interact with him. And the guy's got a wicked sense of humor. And there have been times already this season when you can almost see him trying so hard not to crack up.
Yeah.
Because of what he gets to do. I'm thinking, the grumpy old man routine in 302 when he has the hose.
Yeah.
Oh, you could tell he was just relishing that. And then in 304, the running gag from when Chuck and Devin tried to lie to Ellie. I decapitated the bear, babe.
Yeah.
My gosh. And then Chuck had to quickly save it by telling her that no, it was actually that Devin had gotten drunk and he had wet himself and exposed himself. And that just kind of carries through until the very last when they come over for the dinner party that Morgan's creating, which I don't know, the surprise. I hope everyone's up to date on their shots, but and Ellie takes the wine from Casey and says, "You've had enough of that." It's just, and Chuck will not tell him why she's saying that. I love it. I love it that Chuck won't tell him that he's keeping that from him. It's just so, I don't know. It's just funny. I loved that.
Yeah. Funny. And also, I thought it was kind of cute too that Ellie just found that story more believable.
I know. Well, I think she genuinely cares about Casey and she genuinely cares about Sarah. I hope we get to see a lot more of them interacting, the group of them, because I like that dynamic. I really do. And it's, we got to see it from Shaw's perspective there at the end of 304 looking in. They really have become a little family.
Yeah.
A very dysfunctional one.
Yeah.
A family.
And I didn't know how to take Shaw's, I couldn't get in his head that last scene there, was he regretting? Was he, I don't know. It was,
when he pulls out the ring and puts it
on.
I think he's, grieving.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, the interaction, we got a touch of that at the beginning when we saw the girls getting together and yakking, and, I'd like to see more of that because I think that's something that Sarah needs.
Yes, definitely.
And,
I was a little bit disappointed that it was Karina instead of Ellie, but it makes a lot more sense for it to have been Karina because Sarah can be more open. I mean, she wasn't completely open with Karina, although Karina saw right through her, but, she didn't have to reserve as much of herself as she would have with Ellie at this point. So,
yeah. Anyway, so that's my take on it. What else happened there was a shocking moment that I just totally completely, I didn't see it coming.
Would you care to elaborate?
Emmett.
Oh, yeah. Boy, that came out of nowhere, didn't it?
You know, and the fact that nobody knows but Casey, right? I'm right? Nobody knows but Casey. He hasn't.
I think that's correct. They're not telling Chuck. He thinks he got transferred to Anchorage.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. First Harry Tang gets sent to Hawaii, and now Emmett's quote unquote in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder where the next one will be. Puerto Rico?
I don't know. I don't know. But
that was a startling moment, and I think it was meant to be startling, obviously. I think it was meant to show us that the ring is serious business, and it's a whole new ball game on Chuck.
Yeah, I was thinking that, you know, that scene, after I got over the shock of what I had just seen, I thought, first I thought, well, this is so un-Chuck-like. And then I thought, wow, they're really going to get deep. They're going to get a little darker this season. So I'm thinking you're exactly right. This is not going to be just, you know, this is going to be something a lot more. I think the ring, having to do with the ring, is going to be a lot darker, a lot more sinister. And I think there's going to be a lot more shocking moments like that. I expect there to be. It's not always going to be. I think this is a new Chuck this season, a new tone. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a new tone and feel that we haven't experienced before.
There are some major, major twists coming up that are going to be huge. I mean, I think I mentioned on the forum that when I heard one of them, I actually swore, and you know me, I don't do that. I'm not a person who cusses as a rule. And this was a serious, yeah, I did not see it coming. It's brilliant. I really hope nothing leaks ahead of time because, yeah, it's so good. It's such a fantastic, story twist that I hope it's a surprise to everybody because it's that good. It's one of those twists that you don't want to know going in. So the collective gasp when it happens is going to be heard round the world, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk a little bit about, we got more of Devin involved in the spy world, which at first he was all, this is awesome. And then once he kind of saw the reality of it, he was like, this is not awesome.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat that, you know, this guy who can do everything that for so long, I think Chuck has felt, inferior to. Now, Devin has to go to Chuck and say, you're going to get me through this, right? You're going to get me through this, right? And Chuck mans up. He says, yeah, I'm going to help you. We're going to be fine. And then he had that fantastic moment in the, in 304 in the office building where Chuck does come to his aid and uses his duck hunt skills to take down all the enemy agents. That was great. And Devin, you know, breathed aside.
Finally, looked at him and said, you're awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, you know, that had to be so good for Chuck. I did want to point out that, and this just clicked for me today. I was reading something over at Chuck This Blog. I think it's chuckthisblog.wordpress.com, I believe. Anyway, that somebody was talking about the fact that at the end of 304, Chuck goes to Devin and says, Angie's been, not Angie Harmon, Sydney has been taken care of. You know, she's been captured. You don't have to worry anymore. He doesn't tell Devin that she's been killed.
That was interesting.
Which, think back to Chuck versus Santa Claus when Chuck sees Sarah kill that, bad guy. And he thinks he can't hear what's going on, so he doesn't know that he was in danger. He thinks that Sarah just shot him in cold blood. And she comes to him not knowing that he's seen it and tells him that he's been captured and that Chuck is safe. And it was an interesting parallel. And I wonder if they're going to address that in any further as far as introspectively for Chuck, for him to maybe understand a little more where Sarah was coming from. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Or if it was just maybe for the fans, for them to see, okay, because I know a lot of fans were upset that it wasn't addressed in more detail, especially in Third Dimension, which was the next episode. Didn't really fit in there, but they just gave a very quick conclusion to that. And I think maybe this is a way for the writers to say, okay, we get that you didn't really believe that resolution, so here, now compare. Because they know we do. They know we do. So, and I believe it was Gord who brought that up the first time, that made that connection at first. So kudos to Gord for figuring that out.
Yeah, that's cool. I have to say I loved Devin through that episode.
Yeah. He's stepping up, isn't he?
He stepped up, and there were times where I really just felt bad for him. I just was like, oh, you poor guy.
Such an abnormal emotion for him.
Yeah.
As a character, usually you're just like, ugh, again, he's perfect. Whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, awesome work.
Yeah, and congratulations to Ryan McPartlin. His character was only supposed to be around for a couple of episodes, and then originally in season 1 he was going to get killed off. And now, 3 seasons later, here he is, an integral part of the spy world, not just Chuck's personal life, but his spy life too.
So much better. Yeah. Anyway, so Shaw.
Yeah.
Shaw's introduction.
Is the big bad guy everybody's been afraid of.
Yeah.
So what he's going to do to Chuck and Sarah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I find it interesting that he doesn't necessarily have he doesn't have the trust or respect that Beckman did. I find that pretty interesting. It's like he's got to fight to take command of that team, they're not gonna obey him all the time. They're not gonna.
Right off the bat, they're like, screw you.
Yeah.
We're gonna go save Chuck.
Yeah. So, although he is right there, whereas Beckman wasn't.
That's true. Oh, and speaking of Beckman, way back at the beginning of 301, I had no idea she was so tiny. I mean, I knew she was, but seeing her and Zach next to each other, her and Chuck walking after the failed mission, I just kept going, wow, that's a lot of presence for a tiny person.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. I know. It's awesome that she could carry that off,
I know, yes. So, but yes, so now she's turned the management of Team Bartowski over to Shaw at this point. He's the expert on the ring, who we saw briefly in 302. We just saw like his leg and a hand sitting on her desk when she was basically pleading with him to tell Team Bartowski something. We don't know what. Something. But there's, of course, the Chuck and Casey and Sarah don't know this, but the viewers know that apparently there's some major threat coming their way. And it looks to me like Shaw is there to kind of whip Chuck into shape to be ready for it.
Yeah. I don't know. But what I thought was really cool was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was the first time we'd seen Beckman actually go to bat for that team.
Yes, I think you're right. That is the first time we've actually seen her go to bat for Team Bartowski. So, she does have their best interests at heart, I think.
Yeah.
She's juggling a lot.
Yeah, you see it now, but.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about Shaw, though, I tell you.
Well, I think I said before that I don't think we're supposed to like him. Team Bartowski doesn't like him right off the bat. They're not comfortable with him. They don't trust him. And I don't think we're supposed to either.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be a gradual process, both for the characters on the show and for the viewers to get to the point where, because they don't really know what his end game is, and we don't either. And they're suspicious. They've been together for 2.5 years now. And, and they trust Beckman to an extent. So, I think it's only natural that it's going to take a little while for him to, be accepted and respected and trusted by them.
I gotta admire his training methods for Chuck, though. I gotta say, throwing him out, just right, throw him out there, Either sink or swim, buddy.
I really liked his response to when Chuck kind of went off and did his own thing, which again, that was another, there's so many things to like about this show. Number one, I liked that Chuck's plan did not involve flashing to save Devin.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't involve flashing. It involved, to get to Sydney, I mean, it involved him using his computer knowledge. His engineering, his brain, the Chuck part of his brain to, implement this plan. But, and he's done this in the past too, where he goes off and does his own thing without telling Casey and Sarah because he knows that they won't want him to do it. Right. So he just goes off and does it himself. And knowing though that in the end they'll come to his rescue if he needs them. But this time he's got Shaw who says, you started it, you finish it.
Right.
Up to you.
Exactly.
Which was powerful. And then, of course, Casey and Sarah mutiny and took off anyway.
Yeah.
So.
which it ended up to be, a good thing anyway. But you know what? Chuck, sometimes I think it gave Chuck the opportunity to see what he was made of. Mm-hmm. Really without the cover, the blanket of Sarah and Casey.
I agree.
He had to step up. He was out there on his own. He had to do something. And he did okay. He did all right.
He did. It was good that Casey and Sarah and Shaw ended up there at the end, but I think that was also a way for us to get a quick introduction to Shaw's management style.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, Chuck, you want to be a real spy, here you go.
Right. This is it.
Yeah, real spies take responsibility and yeah. It was good. I liked that. I really, really liked that.
Yeah.
And we will see more of that. It's even in 305 that's coming up. Mm-hmm. Chuck versus the First Class. We will see that again. So
yeah.
And Chuck likes it. Chuck likes it real good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Now that he gets his feet wet.
Yeah. I think once he kind of understands where Shaw's coming from there, he's much more comfortable with it. Where Casey and Sarah, not so much.
Well, he's always been, he doesn't ever want, he's done staying in the car.
He is done staying in the car. And did you notice that this time Casey and Sarah had to stay in the car?
Right. Exactly.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yes. Well, so did we have anything else we wanted to talk about with those episodes? There was so much. We had so much happening and 4 episodes.
Yeah. Well, Angie Harmon.
She was phenomenal. I was so sad that they killed her off.
Yeah.
That character, she was perfect for that character.
She was cold as ice. Boy, I loved it.
And just walking around on her stilettos with her, her phone or whatever. And
yeah. The dark flirting with Devin.
Yes.
That was, that's kind of scary.
It is. She's lethal.
Oh man.
Ooh.
That was
perfect casting. Loved it.
Excellent job there.
Yeah. I am very sorry that there's not a chance for her to come back because she would have been a really cool recurring threat.
Oh yeah.
Cause she had knowledge that Devin and Chuck were that they were connected, but, Devin wasn't actually the spy.
Yeah.
So she could have made some headway with that, even though, as we found out in 304, the ring cells are decentralized, meaning they're not really sharing information, which is, I'm sorry, that's a plot hole. I mean, I get why they needed that for the storyline, but that was, just seems completely illogical to me. I hope that there's a little more explanation of the, method to that madness because I don't know. If I were running some huge, organization that was trying to bring down the U.S. government covert ops, I think I would share information with each other. I think there would be some working together going on.
Yeah, just a little.
So, but on the other hand, it does make it really easy for them to keep taking out ring operatives and not have the ring as a whole figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, well done, Angie Harmon.
Yes,
and writers and casting.
Yes, well done, show. Well done. Well, that wraps up our episode discussion for this time around. But there's still a lot to discuss, and probably when Gray gets back with us, we will talk a little bit more about what we thought about the show. I'm sure he has other insights that we can discuss. But for now, let's give a little shout out to our sponsors, Movie Morons at moviemorons.com. They're a podcast for movie lovers. And they say, we want to fill your iPod or iPod facsimiles full to the brim with interviews, reviews, and in-depth conversations about movies. We'll talk about anything from the subgenre of underwater movies to the films of Francois Truffaut. As movie morons, we aren't interested in regurgitating plot and recounting the dating habits of actors. We're in it for the pure, non-snobby love of film. So moviemorons.com. Go check them out. They've got a really cool podcast that is indeed non-snobby. So truth in advertising. And also thanks to SyrianJunkies.de, which we would pronounce here in the U.S. as SyrianJunkies.de, the largest TV site in Germany. They cover all kinds of TV shows. So we encourage you to check them out. Right now they're talking about White Collar and Glee, which is now airing over there, Vampire Diaries, and Crash, and more. So go over to SyrianJunkies.de, check them out, and moviemorons.com. And thanks to them for supporting us. And I also wanted to give a shout out to a new listener / subscriber who just wrote in this week to say that he had found us and was so pleased with what we had in our podcast that he started donating. His name's Peter. And we just want to say, hey, Peter, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.
So we're going to wrap this up. We've got a little bit of spoilers coming up, but if you don't want spoilers, now's the time for you to take off, to shut down, to check in next time. We want to say thanks for joining us, and thank you for all of your emails and comments. We encourage you to stop by podcastalley.com and vote for us there. We had quite the surge of votes in January, so which we appreciate. Thank you very much for that. And we encourage you to vote again. You can vote once a month over at podcastalley.com for Chuck versus the podcast to make us your number one podcast. You can also email mail at chuckpodcast.com and put subscribe in the title, and we will add you to the email list to remind you about voting and new podcast releases. And if you're over at chuckpodcast.com, feel free to check out the merchandise that's available, the Chuck versus the Podcast merchandise, and you can purchase Chuck-related items at our Chuckazon store. We get a little bit of a kickback from anything you purchase through Amazon via our links, and that helps support the podcast as well. So thank you for all of that. If you feel like making a straight donation, you could do that as well. We certainly appreciate all of your support, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. And if you have questions or comments to share, please email us at mail@chuckpodcast.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
All right, so we're back with some spoilers for the next couple of episodes. Take it away, Liz.
All right, we'll start out with episode 305. The synopsis is the CIA agent Daniel Shaw, who played wonderfully by guest star Brandon Routh, assigns Chuck to his first solo mission in Paris, ignoring Sarah and Casey's wishes. During the flight to France, Chuck befriends Hannah, guest star Kristen Kruk, and flashes on another passenger, the imposing Hugo Panzer, played by guest star Stone Cold Steve Austin, a much anticipated guest star. Meanwhile, Casey helps Morgan battle Jeff and Lester for control of the Buy More.
That's something we didn't talk about in our discussion about the episodes. That Morgan is now an assistant manager, and he was immediately had to face a rebellion led by Lester and Jeff to an extent, but mostly Lester, and their Fight Club-esque shenanigans. Oh, those boys.
Which was really kind of brutal.
It was. And it led the way for Morgan to do some growing up and Chuck to do some fighting against the ring. That helped him out. So, but the battle continues. The battle continues, and this time Casey helps out, and it's pretty cool. It's going to be there's an homage there that a lot of people should pick up on.
Yeah.
So
don't miss it.
Don't miss it. And that is Chuck versus First Class, which airs this Monday, January the 25th. Or if you're in Canada, on Sunday, January the 24th. Yeah, whatever. So, we also have the synopsis for episode 306, which is titled Chuck versus the Nacho Sampler. Ooh. And in this one, Chuck must turn an enemy agent into a spy for the CIA. Chuck juggles his two lives as he trains new nerd herder Hannah, played by Kristen Crook, and gets his very own asset, who is caught up with the ring. Chuck thinks he can handle his asset all on his own, but Sarah and Casey feel the need to intercede. Meanwhile, Awesome must lie to Ellie when she starts to ask questions about Chuck and Morgan. Jeff and Lester do some recon work to learn more about Hannah. So Hannah, who we meet in 305, does arrive at the Buy More and becomes an employee there. And so we'll find out a little bit more about what's going on with that character in 306, Chuck versus the Nacho Sampler.
Yeah, my interest is piqued.
Indeed. The title alone has me wondering what is going on.
Well, you can't have a title like that and not sit and watch the show without some nachos.
I think we really should turn it into a theme night.
I think so.
A nacho theme night.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
Share your favorite nacho recipes. I mean, how many different ways can you make a nacho? Nachos.
Well, people put lots of different toppings on them, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think as long as you have chips and cheese, you can add anything else you want, and it counts as nachos, doesn't it?
Anything. Jalapenos. Woo.
I think you're a little more excited about that than the episode.
Oh, I've got a whole plan formulating.
All right.
Because I've recently, my oldest daughter has recently caught up on all the previous seasons of Chuck and is now watching Chuck with me on Monday nights.
About time.
I know, right? So, and she loves nachos.
All right.
So I'm thinking, and she's pretty good with the cooking skills. So
party at Liz's house.
I'm thinking between the two of us. Yeah, I think everybody should. Nacho night.
That's right. I'm down with that.
All right.
Followed by heartburn night? I don't know.
It depends on what you top it with.
That's true. All right. Well, we are going to wrap it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. And we wanted to just point out that, or tease you, that our next couple of episodes are going to be video casts. They will include interviews with Stone Cold Steve Austin from the set of Chuck and Kristen Crook, also from the set of Chuck. So make sure that you are watching, and if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, either to the RSS feed or you can subscribe on iTunes. And check us out. Watch for those.
Yeah.
And keep watching Chuck Monday nights, NBC.
Yeah. Tell everybody else about it, too.
Yep. Have a good one.
See you next time, guys.